Hi, welcome to our podcast. My name is Mike Menahem. I'm the founder of Govbidpro. Our website's Govbidpro.com, as you can tell up here on this awesome yellow sheet that I like using from Staples. Thank you, Staples. And definitely check out our website. Let's talk about Govbidpro. What do? We are the premier government bidding and contracting and proposal writing service for small business in America. We've been in business 10 years. A little bit of background about myself. I have my MBA in finance. I used to work at a mortgage company and at a bank. And then I worked at a small company called CFM, and we were reselling software and hardware to government, mainly federal, on what was FBO, FedBizOps.com. If you go to that website, it'll take you to sam.gov. Sam.gov. All right. And so the process, finding the opportunities, putting the proposals together and submitting, it's a full-time job. But in this podcast, what I want to do is talk about three things. The process, which I just kind of alluded to, the registration, and the financing that goes into the deals. Number one, let's talk about the process. What you have to do is first you have to find the right bid, okay? Find the right bid that's for you. If you're a woman-owned business or a veteran-owned business or 8A or HubZone, you've got to find the right bid, the bid that's right for you, and that works off of what's called an NAICS code, North American Industry Code Standard. Everything that's bought and sold, whether it's social media or it's this marker or it's this camera that I'm using, or real estate, or IT, or construction, anything, has a 6-digit NAICS code. So when you register on sam.gov, you'll put in up to 6 NAICS codes, NAICS codes, that relate to your business. So then when you look for bids, RFQs, request for quote, or request for proposal, on sam.gov, you'll be looking for request for quote and request for proposal. The government is looking for a quote from you for these widgets. The government's looking for a proposal from you within a request for proposal on sam.gov based on your NAICS code. Now, the top 3 areas that the government buys, number 1 is IT. That's your hardware, software, virtual reality, augmented reality, all that stuff, all that IT stuff. Cybersecurity is another one. The second one is medical. Medical devices, things that goes into hospitals, nitrile gloves, alcohol pads, sheets for the beds in the hospitals, all that stuff, right? And the third thing is facility management. Okay? Real estate, roofs, windows, floors, dishwashers for housing for on Army and Navy bases. So that's facilities. So the top 3 is IT, medical, and facility. Now let's get back to process. What you want to do first, like I said, you want to find the right bid for yourself on sam.gov. Okay? When you find the right bid, you're going to have a future due date as part of the bid. And by the way, we have individual trainings on Govbidpro.com that we can offer you. So we can go into this, but I just want to scratch the surface here. The bid that you find based on your NAICS code on sam.gov is going to have a future due date. So if the due date is, let's say, September 17th, great. So now you've got time to put that proposal together. Okay, and the government's going to tell you what the submission requirements are. All right, submission requirements. Now, what makes it interesting is that each time it's different. Okay, now for the folks out there that you want to be a reseller, you're going to go after the request for quotes. So the government is requesting a quote for 500 laptops. You don't make laptops, but you can certainly go to CDW or Amazon or any of the other distributors online, buy the laptops, send them to the government, drop ship, and then get paid by the government and then pay off the distributor. We have a complete reseller training. We have a complete reseller training on our website, Govbidpro.com. All right, next, registration. We kind of touched on it a little bit. What you want to do is register on sam.gov. If you go into sam.gov on the top right, it'll say create an entity. What you're looking for is you're looking to create a cage code. That stands for commercial and government entity. Commercial and government entity, cage code. All right? It takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get this cage code from the government. That's pretty fast. It is free to register with the government. They're checking if you've got bad back taxes, or you've not paid your child support, or you have a felony. All those things, they're going to look into you. Finally, as part of this podcast, I want to talk about the financing. What you want to do is you want to line up your financing in terms of a line of credit or purchase order financing. That way, when you are selling to the government, you are only going to get paid by the government after you deliver. So you have to have the financing for the supplies and labor and delivery and the installation and the trainings that go into the products that you're selling to the government. For example, we delivered 3D printers, 10 of them, to the government. So the product, the installation, the training, and the 3-year warranty. We paid for that. We paid for the 3D printers, the delivery, the installation, and the training. We paid for that up front. Then we invoiced the government and got paid back, and we made the margin in the middle. That's how this works. We go into this more deeply. You're welcome to email me at mike@govbidpro.com, right here, and I'm running out of room on this sheet, and that's okay. But again, as part of this podcast, a very short podcast, we've talked about process. We want to find the right bid on sam.gov based on your NICS code, and then we want to put a proposal together. We talked about the different areas, IT, medical, facility. There's other areas that the government buys in. The government's going to have submission requirements. Look out for the due date. That's very important. Before you do all this, of course, you're going to have registration to get a cage code, and you want to make sure to line up your financing. We do all this for you at Govbidpro.com. We have training as a service. We provide purchase order financing, factoring, lines of credit, loans, SBA loans, merchant cash advance. We do all that. Right here, the financing, that's very important, because the last thing you want to happen is you go through this whole process and you land a government purchase order and you can't finance it. You know, you're going to get a purchase order, a contract for $1 million from the government. You've got to get $700,000, $800,000, $850,000. So that's what we're talking about here. If you've got any questions, feel free to email me, mike@govbidpro.com. If you've got any questions. Again, thank you very much for joining us for this podcast. Please check us out at Govbidpro.com. We've got 14 on-demand videos. There's plenty of templates, and we've got an ebook. We kept this under 10 minutes, so that's a good thing. And we'll see you at the next podcast. Thanks for coming.